Hey, looks like we're ready to start. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm Debra Prinzing of Slow Flowers, and I'm so happy that I was telling the team, it's just pretty great that we have made it to week 5 of the Zoom virtual meetups. Great in a way because we are really getting to learn this technology, which is sort of the new reality, but also seeing faces of people that I've known through social media or through email, or I know you're a member, but we've never met in person. And I just love that this is a platform that we can all come together and actually see each other and hopefully get a chance to connect a little bit. Today we've got 2 special guests. Really excited about this. We kind of, I listen closely to what other people in the chat box say, questions that are asked, and I sort of just had this feeling that we've been enduring, this enforced shutdown during the coronavirus for over a month. And I think everybody's at kind of this stretched out point, or like head ready to blow up point, where we're just so over it, right? And yet we can't be over it. And so I wanted to invite 2 guests to talk a little bit about self-care and wellness and sustaining your heart and mind and soul and spirit and creativity during this time. So I think it's going to be a wonderful meeting. And before we get started, I want to thank the people who have got their first names in the chat and are introducing themselves. If your account doesn't have your full name or your business name, be sure to click on it and change that information so that we can get your name, because Nisha Blancas, our social media maven, our social media maven. Nisha's going to collect everybody's names. We've got some wonderful giveaways that we'll do a drawing for at the end of the morning. And as always, just jot your questions down in the group chat, and Lisa Wad, our membership manager, will be monitoring those, and we'll have Q&A with both presenters this morning. Finally, the breakout rooms, and you may have seen this in my email, I think we're going to do no theme today. We're just going to let people go into rooms, and we'll let the Zoom platform generate those smaller groups, and you'll have about 10 or 15 minutes to just visit with each other. With the idea being that you maybe share your own personal strategies for self-care and wellness, and just encourage each other. And then we'll come back at the end and do some giveaways. So I'd like to start by introducing Julie Tobi. Where are you, Julie? Hi, Julie. Let's take you off. I'll unmute you. Sorry about that. Hi, Julie Tobi.
Hi.
Sorry about that. I am so glad that you said you could join us today. I first learned about you when we met at Flower Stock last October or November, whenever that was. Seems like a year ago. And you gave a great presentation tailored very much toward the creative, entrepreneur, and how people who, have a vision of where they want to go with their careers, but are stuck or maybe need some coaching, how they can work with you. And anyway, I know this, you work with Sue McCleary, who we all know and love. So I'm sure you work with other people in the floral space as well. But I just thought I'd like to ask you to talk a little bit about personal path to what you're doing now as a lifestyle. How do you describe yourself? A life coach or a career coach?
A life coach for creative entrepreneurs.
Great.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah. And so life coach, if you've kind of heard that before, can kind of span a broad range, right? It can go from relationships to body image to confidence, all of that. The work that I primarily focus on with people is fulfillment in career, and getting to that place by what I say, and I'm going to do a little visual for you, like living from here, right? So it's getting out of our heads and kind of sinking down into our core and who we are and what it is that we really, really, truly want, and creating the business of your dreams. Because if we stay kind of stuck in our heads, stuck in social media, so if we're out here and we're in here too much and we're disconnected from here, we create the business of somebody else's dreams, right? We're not creating what it is that we truly want and what we truly want to be doing. And now, more than ever, I think it's a time to be really rooted and grounded in who we are. And so that's what I help the people that I work with do. Make changes for their business and ultimately then their lives, so that they're living the life and the business that they truly want to be living.
Mm. How did you end up getting to this role that you have through your business now? I know you have a really great pedigree, but you've tailored a wonderful consulting practice. How did you get to this place now?
Yeah, so I got here by doing something I encourage my clients to do. In every moment throughout my journey, I did what I felt was the next right move for myself, right? So when I got on my journey as a professional and an entrepreneur, I did not know this was the end goal. I didn't. But I trusted that each decision along the way was going to get me where I wanted to be. So I'll take you back a little bit and where this first started. After undergrad, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but what felt like the next right move then was to get a master's degree in counseling. So that's what I did. And then I was on that journey. And on that path, I'll make this really short. I then found my way to being a wedding planner and a florist. And I was on that journey and I loved it. And I can look back and say all the reasons why I got there was listening to myself. And I've shared with people that I wrote in my journal one night in 2012 when nursing a baby, I wrote, if you're not listening to your own voice, who are you listening to?
Mm.
And that was the pivotal change for me. And it was months following that I launched my wedding planning business, which then turned into floral design as well. So then I was in the entrepreneurial space and loving it, and loved the creative outlet and the connection and meeting people and all of that. Then I got to a point where that didn't fit for me anymore, and it didn't fit with my life and my family. So I closed that business without a plan, without a known outcome of what was going to come next. And then in kind of these happenstance encounters and what I was already doing for peers who were in the entrepreneurial space, I realized that I wanted to be a coach and that I wanted to do it formally. So I was able to fuse my counseling background with my entrepreneurial experience and my experience in the event industry into this career of being a coach for creative entrepreneurs. So I like to give that background because it also shows something that I encourage people to do, is to do the next right thing in front of you, even if you don't for sure know what the outcome's going to be. I could not have predicted this when I entered a master's degree program, when I opened a wedding planning business. But I'm so glad that I listened to myself along that journey, because I am in love with where I am right now and the business I've created. And it's because I trusted myself along the way.
You've said some really amazing things that I want to like engrave in stone. One is your comment about if you're not listening to your own voice, who are you listening to? I think that's essential for us all to hang on to right now. And then the other point that you just made about you may not have I can totally relate to this. You may not know what the end point is, but do the next thing that feels right will move you along that path ultimately, if you keep asking yourself that question. But now here we are in the midst of this disruption in everybody's life. So I'm sure that you're seeing this as an opportunity to encourage your clients, or people that you are just peers or colleagues, to not see this as a negative this time, but maybe see it as a positive. I mean, what would you advise on that?
Yeah. So what I think for myself and what I've been telling people, this is what I've said a number of times. A global pandemic in itself is not a silver lining, right? This whole thing going on, I'm not glad that we are experiencing this at all. And I can see personal and business silver linings for myself and for my clients. So personally, I got a lot of family time right now, which I actually like, right? I love being with my family. Maybe this is a touch on the high end of the spectrum, but that's a big silver lining for me. For some of my clients, they have told me that they have never been more inspired, and they are feeling incredibly creative. Some of my clients have launched shops that they've always wanted to do, but they haven't because they've been too busy. They haven't made space for it. They could find all these reasons why now wasn't the time, but then it became that now is the time. And now they're doing it, right? So this burst of creativity and inspiration is happening for a lot of people. I'm also seeing a complete opposite end of that where people are not feeling inspired and they're not wanting to do anything. And then they're starting to feel badly about that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I think is a really good time to be trusting yourself and doing what it is that you think you need, right? So it might be that you thrive on this creative burst. It might be that right now you need to trust that this is going to be a slower time for you. I say that second piece with a little bit of caution though, because we then might attach everything to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we might create this story of, well, this is too much for me right now. And my default in the beginning was that this is hard and I'm not feeling creative or inspired. So that's how I'm going to be for the duration of this, right?
Yeah.
That's disconnecting from yourself a little bit instead of continuing to check in.
Mm-hmm.
Weeks 1 through 4, you may not have been inspired. Weeks 5 through whatever, there might be a shift for you. So it's not attaching too much to how you first felt in the beginning or even yesterday. Tomorrow, new day. You might wake up and the energy and the creativity is flowing. I just got goosebumps thinking about that.
Do you have some I don't know, little prompts or tips to help get people out of the rut? I mean, is there just like some change in behavior that might change the landscape or change the perspective?
Yeah. So 2 things. One is in this training yourself realm, you don't know what it is that you need, ask yourself. Sounds really basic, but you might think, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what my next right move is. There are so many things. I've got, the kids and the family and the business, and I'm stressed and I'm worried about finances. So you got to slow down, right? Even me doing that. Like, I think we've been doing a lot of that in our minds. You got to slow down and just ask yourself, what's my next right move? That's one question you can ask yourself, and then pause, see what comes to you. Another question is, what do I need right now?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need? And then this is where sometimes what we need is so simple that we think it wouldn't work, right? But right now, I think simplicity is key. So what do I need? There have been times, I'll be completely honest with you, what I have needed is to take a shower at 2 p.m.
Yeah. Or eat protein.
Right. But it could be that simple, Deborah. I think I need a protein snack.
Yeah.
I think I need some water. I think I need to go for a walk. I think I need to check my email. Like, there are no bounds or boundaries of what this can be, but you've got to ask yourself what you need if you're not sure.
That's really helpful. I want to encourage people to add their questions in the chat so we have, a little bit of time at the end to maybe bring up something you're thinking about that Julie might be able to address. Julie, how do you work with your clients? Do you have different scopes or levels or kind of a menu of services? I've never worked with a life coach or a career coach, and I've always been fascinated by the idea, but I honestly think I've always thought, well, I'm not prepared. I don't have my act together enough to go employ someone or hire someone to help me because I don't know what questions to ask or where to start. You probably see that a lot.
Yeah. And that actually might be a good place to start is I don't know where to focus. I don't know what I would ask. So I think I need to work with someone to kind of clarify that focus a bit. And a great way, so I do offer kind of different, like a variety of services. And Deborah, with what you're talking about, I do 90-minute power sessions, I call them, and they're just like a one-off. Like, you can just sign up for one session. It's 90 minutes, and it's kind of like really good for people who've never done it. So you can kind of like dip your toe in. I first offered them just kind of on a whim around New Year goal setting. And then I was so amazed at how impactful they were that I kept them on. I was like, oh, these are really effective. So I do 90-minute sessions, and then I do 1 month coaching where we do a session a week for a month, followed by a 30-day, roughly, like a check-in 30 days later. And then I also do coaching groups, which are fabulous. I love the connection and the support and I don't like to think about them as accountability. I think about them more as inspiration. Like, people aren't accountable to each other in that environment. They're inspired by each other. And so the groups, I just run them kind of at various times throughout the year.
And roughly how many people would be in a group?
The groups, the lowest number I'll do is 4, and they're typically 4 to 6 people. They're small, which is great, because think about a setting like this. If there were this many people, it's too hard for people to get the attention that they kind of need.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, so they're on the small side.
Wow, that's really great. And when you talk about working with creatives, what are you seeing unique to creatives, and what, perhaps are most people self-employed entrepreneurs, and is that also a facet of being in that creative space?
Yeah, so most of my clients are self-employed, though not all. I've worked with a handful of people who are in a creative field, and then they typically dabble in some sort of art on the side. But what I find to be unique is that creative entrepreneurs so badly want to be fulfilled by their work. And often what happens is things get muddied, and we start our business with really high hopes of freedom, of being creative, of financial freedom. And like when I say freedom, I mean financially and with our time. And then as we get going and we get kind of like bogged down in the weeds a bit, we find that we actually aren't fulfilled, or things are missing. It's like people are often feeling like there's something missing. There's some change that I need to make. And that's what I help people do. I help them refine their business offerings, let go of services they don't want, add things they do. And again, it's from this space. It's not because the latest podcast told them that this is what they should add, though podcasts are great. I'm an avid listener. But it's about using those tools that they hear and then connecting with themselves here to see what's the next right move for them.
I can really relate to that. I feel like the one thing I struggle with constantly, because I'm a pleaser, I'm the oldest daughter, I'm, want everybody to be happy, is this sense that I need to fix everyone else's problems. And then that goes back, you said something that made me think, oh yeah, this is me, where I'm somehow adopting someone else's agenda for my busyness. And I forget that I have my own agenda, that I should feel free to prioritize, and I'm not a bad person if I can't help somebody. I've got to keep going back to what's essential to me. And do you run into that with distractions that people encounter?
Very much. So an example that came up is someone, if someone has a shop, let's say, and it's open 7 days a week, and they really want to close on Monday. And then they're like, but I don't want to close because I don't want to disappoint people. But ultimately what's best for their well-being and their business long-term, so that they can focus on other things, is to close the shop on Monday. So it's helping them come to that. And I like to tell people, it's not selfish, it's sustainable. You have to make choices that are sustainable for you so that you can be in this business for the long haul if you want to be.
I feel like when I read your bio and I shared it on the news, the invite that went out to everybody, there was something you talked about, the balance and helping your clients find the life they want to live professionally and personally as a kind of integrated whole. And I sounds like that's comes up in every every human being anyway, right?
Yeah. And I talk about, I think about it as like a paradox, right? Like, I want you to be fulfilled in your career, and I don't think your career matters all that much. Right?
Yes.
It's just kind of like, what is she saying? She helps people with career. But like, ultimately, when you think about like the grand scheme of your life, of the universe, of us being these tiny little specks in time, we are so important and meaningful, and we're pretty small, right? And that's not a negative. That can help put things in perspective when we're thinking about taking a risk or making a change in our business. It's like, it's not that big of a deal, right?
Yeah.
Coupled with, I want you to love the heck out of what you're doing and be fulfilled.
That kind of makes it all, kind of puts it into perspective and sort of takes the drama out of it all. Like, okay, take a deep breath. We're just moving at a human rate. We don't have to solve the world's problems. We've just got to take a bite-sized sort of challenges one at a time.
Yep.
Let's see. I think we're going to start the Q&A. Is that, are you good with that? Before I do that though, Julie, is there, I I want to make sure you have everything you want to share. Is there anything else you want to
no,
share?
I'm good. I
Okay.
love questions if people have questions.
Great. Lisa, you want to jump in and run the questions?
Yes, I'd love to. I actually have Karen with a really great question. Karen, do you want to hop in and ask Julie?
Yeah, hi. So my biggest question is just how to manage the constant change. Like, even if I ask myself, what do I need right now? I feel like even 20 minutes later, because of circumstances that happened in those 20 minutes, it might be different again. So, I mean, is it as simple as just continually asking myself what I need right now? Because I just find in the past, change used to be really exciting for me and invigorating and new opportunities. And now it's sort of like, whoa, another one. So just what your thoughts are on how to manage that constant change.
Yeah, for one, I would say you're not alone. I've asked so many people, how are you doing? And they'll say it changes minute by minute, right? This is a wild time. So you're not alone that it keeps changing. One thing is, in this space, it might be kind of constantly checking in with yourself, and not constantly like to the minute, but as a new curveball comes, it's okay. Like, now what do I need? Now what's the next thing? And with that, it's trying to detach from the outcome, right? Because we right now can make some predictions about what's to come, but they're just predictions. We don't know what's coming, both with COVID-19 or with our lives in general, right? So a little example is, all winter, I was looking forward to spring to walk my daughter to school. And then came spring and school was canceled, right? There's no more school in Michigan for this school year. And I found myself thinking, well, shoot, all those moments that I was looking forward to spring, I wasn't in whatever moment was right in front of me. So even though I was looking forward to something good, if I was on the couch with my kids, I wasn't soaking into that moment with them. I was looking ahead. So it's trying to stay right here, right now, and detaching from the outcomes of what's to come and the action you're taking now and what that outcome might be, because we just don't know. And I do think, like you said, do I just ask myself, do I keep doing that? I think that's a really healthy, good practice, because come times down the line when things are a little bit more predictable, you'll kind of have that back as a tool always of like, well, what do I need? Oh, that's right. I can always ask myself, what is it that I need right now? And so you can kind of maintain that connection with yourself.
It's going on a sticky note.
Okay. Good.
What do I need right now? Smiley face, heart.
Good.
Anybody else have any other questions for Julie? I guess, go ahead.
Oh, I actually have a question. And it's building on what you and Karen were just discussing. I have this thing that I do where I'll see a yoga video, or I'll see something, or I'll have this aspiration, and I make this declaration where this is now something I do every day. I am the kind of person that does this thing every day. And this is, so I guess thinking about what you and Karen were just talking about, what's the balance between goal setting and having this flexibility of this time where change is constant? It's kind of the only thing we can count on. So how do you adapt to that, where you want to be accomplishing things and be productive, but still maintain that flexibility?
Yeah. So one thing that I like to say to myself, and you can try this one on, is to say, like, I trust myself to know what I need. Right? So we can still set goals. I still set goals, but I trust myself to know if a goal needs to shift. Or I trust myself to know, you know what, I said I was going to do yoga 7 days a week, but today what I really want to do is I just want to go for a walk. I'd rather walk than do yoga today. And I trust myself to know that that's what it is that I need. And it's being really honest with yourself, because you might find times where you say, I don't want to work on this goal. Like, let's say it's something work related and you don't really want to do it. You might want to check in with yourself and say, why don't I want to do it? What am I pushing to the side? what story is holding me back? What's getting in the way? And it's, again, having that trust and honesty with yourself that you'll explore. And I almost said like explore together, like there are two of you, but like kind of like there's this part that won't stop. And
Some
then
days.
this part. Yeah. So like I trust myself to know what it is that I need today. And I would say, looking back over the last few years or however much time, how often when you've said, this is my new thing, this is what I'm going to do every day, how often does it stick? And if not often, then maybe it's like my new way is I'm going to ask myself day by day, what do I need today? And then I think from that approach, you might say, oh, maybe I just became someone who did yoga 7 days a week because I asked myself every morning, and every morning yoga was what my body felt like it needed. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, listen, this has been wonderful. Julie, thank you so much for your generosity of wisdom and time and honesty in sharing with us today. I know that I want to invite people to follow the link to Julie's website. Karen has posted her website and also her Instagram. If you go to Julie's website and sign up for her newsletter, then you'll be able to get some really great resources. And Julie has offered also to give a 15% discount to any coaching clients who mentioned that they met her here at the Slow Flowers meetup, and that offer is for services booked between now and June 30th, which is incredibly generous. And Julie, thank you so much. Any other final thoughts you want to add before we go to our next agenda item?
I just want to say that sometimes it doesn't have to seem hard, right? Like right now, just do the simple things, right? Drink some water, go for a walk, take some deep breaths, call somebody, right? We don't have to complicate. There's enough complicated stuff going on right now. So let's not make our self-care complicated.
That's wonderful. Really helpful. Thank you so much, Julie. It's so great to see you here on Zoom, and I look forward to hearing more of what you're doing. And I just signed up for your newsletter, so now I'm gonna get. What do you do? Send out frequent like monthly advice, or what? What is in that?
It's more than monthly, and I'll be honest, because I trust myself step by step. Sometimes they're scheduled out, sometimes they're not. Sometimes something comes to me and I'm like, oh, I got to share that story. But they're stories, they're tips, they're kind of messaging about what's working for other people that I work with so that people can try it on themselves. Some self-coaching tips, all kind of stuff.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, Julie. This has been awesome. I really appreciate it. And I want you all the time.
I loved doing this. I can talk about this stuff all day.
Great. Good. Okay. We are going to say goodbye to Julie. And I'm so excited to introduce our next guest, who is one of my dearest friends. And I don't use the word oldest. I say lifelong. So Lorene Edwards Forkner, we're going to take you. Are you off of mute?
I think so.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Great. Well, Lorene has so many, there's so many ways I could describe her to you, but I will say that Lorene Edwards Forkner has a website called A Handmade Garden. She has an Instagram presence called Gardener Cook. And if you follow the hashtag Seeing Color in the Garden, on Instagram, you'll see her beautiful practice of watercolor studies of plants and flowers and items from nature, but it's so much more than that. And Lorene, I also I know many people on this group chat know you're going to speak at the Slow Flowers Summit coming up, whenever that is. So yeah, so I wanted you to share, well, this all started because Lorene offered to give us a couple of her prints for our drawing today. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to ever describe this well. Would you come on and talk about how you started doing these watercolor studies? And there's certainly a deeper meaning to them. So anyway, would you share that with us?
Absolutely. I really connect with Lisa as saying, I'm a person who does this now. I have always wanted a daily practice. And I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just what I know, that if I do something every day, I can remove the question of, if I say I'm going to walk Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to constantly negotiate. Well, today's Wednesday, but if I do it on Thursday, and, so if I do something every day, I'm actually removing that question. On the other hand, doing something every day is damn hard. It's like, I would never do yoga every day. I need exceedingly low expectations. So the way I kind of dabbed my toe in a daily practice was participating with the 100-Day Project. If people are familiar with that, it is a global community of creatives, and every spring they commit to doing something productive, creative, of your choice. It doesn't matter what it is. It's your commitment, and post it online. You're sharing that with everyone else who is also dabbling in doing something for 100 days. So there's a community around it. There's a collective energy around it, and you can kind of find out, what is it like to do something every day? What it's like is super tedious sometimes. It's exciting, it's revelatory, there's something new. You can do something for 99 days, and that 100th day you may find something new. So I had done the 100-Day Project in a couple of different iterations, and it was April 3rd, 2018. And I was, that was the start date of that year's 100-Day Project. And I really, it's like, once you start doing something, then you there's a momentum. You want to keep your streak going. So I told myself that I really wanted to do that, but my dad had just died, and I was gutted. It had also been kind of a lingering illness, and I was incredibly fortunate that I got to be a part of, his last days, and just the whole path that was. But I was in no condition to do anything creative or thought-provoking or anything. So there are a lot of resources around the 100-Day community, and I had listened to a podcast where somebody said, give yourself something that's self-iterative, right? Do something that's just right in front of your nose. They gave the excuse of using a prompt out of the newspaper. What's on the front page of the newspaper? That's, of course, that was back when we had newspapers and front pages, and but, giving yourself a prompt that you could just follow directions. And that sounded so attractive to me. So the project that I set myself was that every day I would pick a piece of my garden. I am a gardener. That's the skin I inhabit. Most of my projects are grounded in the garden. I'm also an artist, which Deb has been calling me an artist for 40 years, and I've only recently come back to claiming that and wearing that. And color has always been my North Star. And so I decided that once a day I would pick something from the garden and isolate the colors. And Deb, I do have a video.
Is that showing up?
Yeah.
Great. So, and actually one of these is a movie. I wonder if it'll play. Should I click on that?
Try. That's what I was trying to get to play.
Okay, here we go.
Oh my God, I'm telling you. So this is what it means. In this instance, I had picked pansies. This was just yesterday, day before yesterday. And from my very simple watercolor sets, you can tell I'm not terribly precious about them. They're nothing too special. They call them student grade. Which I'm always sneaking in the back door. So I just isolate the colors that I see, and I put them into these like grids, just swatches. Like on one hand, I'm telling myself these are landscape paintings because these are colors that I'm identifying in the landscape. On the other hand, it is so not botanical illustration. I shy away from that color. But at the end of that 2018 100-day project, I found that everything had shifted for me. And, you know, my dad was still dead, but I had new challenges in my life. Something is always happening. There's illness, there's stress, there's my daughter gave birth to twins last summer. There is always something that you need relief from. And for me, this time when I can paint, I am so out of my head and I am so in that present moment. And it really has become like a meditative process to me, to the point where my husband will even say, it's like, well, honey, maybe you should go paint some more when he sees me starting to wind up. And needless to say, Deb, this is literally like watching paint dry, so we don't have to keep watching it.
Okay, I'll go back to the grid. I like watching it. I find this meditative, watching you paint.
It's like I've never understood those unwrapping videos, things like that. But you can see that it is super low tech. It is just what I see. And yet, on the other hand, when you concentrate and you see and you look closely, the world actually opens up. And some days are super lame. Some days I in my mind fail miserably. But that again is the beautiful thing of a daily practice. Is it's like, who cares? I've got tomorrow. I'll do better tomorrow. Or I look back and see the days that I didn't suck. And so for me, this has been a very, very, very healing process. I started on April 3rd, 2018, and I have no intention of quitting. I haven't done the math. Periodically, I do the math to just kind of like acknowledge to myself that this is a body of work. And, you know, so 2 years, the beginning of this April, and then however many, who knows what day it is today, right? So, and I think what it comes down to is doing the practice, doing it, showing up for myself, having the discipline. But it's also, I honestly believe that color is a very powerful force. Color in nature is literally designed to capture the attention of all living creatures, whether that's a pollinator finding its way to the good stuff in the middle of a flower, or, you know, animals like us to identify ripening fruit. You know, it turns from green to red. That means it's ripe, and that's our cue that we can, that it's good, it's nutritive. So I honestly believe in the intrinsic power of color. And certainly as people in the floral space and farmer space with nature, you know that. You know that your bouquets, your work that you're doing for your client has an emotional power that goes way beyond these stems that you're holding. See, that one's a red onion.
What I really like, and this is Debra jumping in, is I love reading what Lorene writes to go with the painting, because sometimes it's very simple. Like this one says, kitchen colors, details that slow me down and encourage me to really see, which is so relevant because otherwise it's just a dead red onion. But look at the colors. They're so vivid, Lorene, and they're just magical that you pause long enough to go through this process because, like you said, you're out of your head. Then all you're doing is concentrating and observing.
Yeah.
Other times there are full-on short stories, which I also really love. And they're just, as people read you every day, they begin to feel like they know you, and people have begun to ask you if it's okay if they try this practice themselves. And how do you respond to that?
I love it. I love it. There was a time last summer, I believe it was, where mom's home with kids in the summertime. Now it's summer lasts all year, right? So, but she had her son. She had picked like a cornflower out of the backyard, bachelor button, and he nailed it. He absolutely, here, honey, make this color. And it was a super simple task for a little to take on. And I was super impressed at the acuity of what he was seeing. On the other hand, I've had people reach out to me saying, the Santa Fe Botanic Garden right now, these public gardens that are looking for a way to continue to engage with their people during this shutdown. And so they're sending out newsletters, and they decided to do this, this collective thing, seeing color. They don't have to call it seeing color in the garden, but I love it when they do, because I want to see how other people see. Mm-hmm. And most of all, I want people to witness how when you practice seeing every day, you get better at it. It's isn't that adorable? That's my son-in-law texting me. I thought I'd put that on silent. That it's a muscle you develop, and you do get better at it. I mean, you do anything every day for, almost 800 days. You better get better at it, or you find something new to look at. So I take this sight or this detail or this presence, it goes with me every day. I'm one of those people doing pandemic puzzles. I do so much puzzling, and I'm pretty good at it because that color, I can sort my pieces and everything. But it's as much the more important thing, because there is something more important than my puzzle, is I am aware of my cycles of attention. I see it when it starts to get tedious. I see it when it just starts to break me open. I see it, and I can look back and say, oh yeah, I remember this. This is the part where it will suck, and then I will get back it will get back to being of value to me, of interest to me. But all I have to do, kind of like ask yourself, what do I need right now, is just keep showing up. And to me, that's been incredibly valuable. So that's me. That's what I do.
It's priceless. Now, Lorene, you have a gift for everyone today. I'm going to try to pull it up on the screen and let you talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
Do that. While I'm looking for that, talk a little bit about what's happened with sharing your art with others, because people kept asking you if they could buy your prints, right?
Right. So I don't know if these paintings are very small. I'm Rain Man when it comes to how I prep myself, because I want the structure. I have complete freedom within my structure, and that is, so these little paintings are, I love it when I do food, 4 inches by 4 inches. So they're tiny, 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 tiny. But people were asking if they could purchase it. I'm not sure what they were picturing, because actually, once I snapped the picture with my phone, now the rocks don't die, so that's a bad example. But any of the flowers, that's fine, Deb.
There we go.
Yeah, like that. So even like hours later, this looks like nothing. I'm just left with these little grids of color, which sometimes are interesting, but more often than not are just kind of like, okay. Not so the life of this project, of these studies, is when the living plant or shells or rocks or whatever is in relationship with the painting underneath them. So, but people had asked for prints. So kind of as a wild hair last, right before Christmas, it was in November, I guess, I said, well, okay, what if I got a few of these made into prints? And so, yes, so I have them in my store. And they were well received, enough so that I've added some more to them. And then with this transition to all of us being cooped up and wanting to, I mean, what I would love to do is to give them away. But of course, that's senseless.
Right.
Having fun with giveaways. I realize that selfishly, that makes me feel good. So I'm having fun with it. So I have all of the physical prints are on sale now for, what did I say, 30% off. So
Yeah.
they were ordinarily $30 and now $20. And then I also created this entire category that's much larger because I don't have to actually have the prints produced, of digital downloads. So these are, you know, they're $5 and you can use them as your screensaver. You can print them at home. You can, you know, they're yours. They're yours to do what you would like with non-commercially.
Yeah.
They are high-res image files. So I've had fun with that. But I also, like I said, I like to give things away. So Deb, if you go back to the homepage there, these, I collected these rocks on a beach near us that, and I've always collected, you know, wishing rocks, right? With the line around them. And as I'm messing around on the beach with them, I connected them. It's like, oh my gosh, this was, so these rocks, that was probably 2 years ago. These rocks have sat on my windowsill, of course, lined up like this, since that time. The first time I painted them, I did it for family, because it was down at Tahuya Beach, which is a very important family place for us. So, but I recently redid the painting and said, we are connected, because if ever we know that, it's now. So I have this high-res file on my homepage. If you go to the homepage, you can click the button and then we really will be connected.
I love that. Thank you so much, Lorene, for sharing that with everybody. Every time I look at your work, I'm inspired. It stimulates my own creativity, which is something that, you know, you may not always realize how far your work is reaching beyond you. And I know through Instagram, you get comments and messages and you hear from many people who have, you know, have also been moved by what they see you write and paint. And I just want to thank you so much for that. I love you and I love your presence in my life. There's a lot of great comments in the chat, Lorene, so I will save those for you. And I don't think there's any questions, Lisa, are there? Or there's lots of raves in the chat box.
Lots of raves, no questions.
Yeah, nobody's saying why.
No, that's the thing. No one's saying why, because we understand how special this is.
Well, and so maybe that daily thing that you do, it only has to have meaning to you. But in terms of like what Julie was saying, what is right for me, I didn't know it at the time. I kind of had this wanting for a daily practice, but it was right for me. This is right for me.
There is one question from Susan Schultz saying, Lorene, do you use these for any type of further study? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Oh, right. So some people do color studies like this, and that is their way of like working out the palette of colors they're going to work with on a landscape painting. No, I am not a landscape painter. I mean, I tell myself these are abstracted color field paintings. I'm right up there with Joseph Albers, but so no, these are just practices, studies that I'm always doing. But a lot of artists do work like that.
Well, she added to the question. Sorry, Susan, I didn't ask the full question. She said, for example, how to select a color palette for wedding bouquets. And I feel like you're always saying these colors exist in nature, so they go together, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's how other people can use them. It's like, oh my gosh, nothing is, orange and blah, 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 whatever. It can be inspiration for combinations. I don't do wedding bouquets unless you're related to me. My daughter's married. So I haven't, but I do, yes, in terms of garden design, because, for years, I'm in that kind of professional horticulture field. And I think it can inform when you start seeing, the colors in the stems and the petioles and the pollen and everything. It can inform these color echoes that are intrinsically pleasing and roll that out in the garden, in your wardrobe, in your home. Somebody said once I had identified a particular color, they wanted that in a lipstick. And I said, well, you just give Revlon my number because I got to think there's more money in cosmetics than horticulture.
Well, Whitney from Emerald Design said these prints would make a beautiful book, Lorene. You get asked this a lot. So let's look at this, the last question. What's the book plan?
I don't know when it's coming out. I don't know if it will ever see the light of day. I do have a book proposal. It has been turned down. Earlier iterations of it has been turned down several times, which is great. Didn't feel great at the moment, but it has really pushed me to go deeper and create a lot more thought rather than just mindlessly doing the practice. So I'm hopeful. I'm working it. But it's the thing where even if it doesn't happen, it's good for me. It's
right.
So.
Right. That's a really good point. That's not your end goal. Your end goal is in the moment, what you're seeing today and how that's feeding your soul as you study the colors and replicate them.
Yeah. And it doesn't always have to feel good.
Right. Well, Lorene has, I'm so excited because in addition to the free download that she's sharing, she's giving us 2 of her prints that we are going to have in our drawing today when Nisha does the drawing. So tell us about these.
So this is, I don't know, they're wrapped in acetate, so they're kind of glaring.
No, we can see it.
Can you see it? Okay. So this is a painting, color study I did of a hellebore years ago. It's what I love about it is how, in the garden, it looks like a white hellebore. You study it and all of a sudden lime green is super dominant. And that just happens to be one of my favorite colors. So anyway, the hellebore, and then this one is a pansy that I painted a year ago and I called it Unfurling. And it's much harder to see on a Zoom thing, but it's actually, when I got really close up to it, there's some navy blue in the stem, the veins of it. These are little tiny worlds that you can kind of fall into. It was super bizarre. The prints are 10 by 10. They're printed on artist grade paper with archival inks. So to see them blow up like that and hold them in my hands was revelatory in November. It's Alice through the Looking Glass or something.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll let you know who wins the drawing so you can pop them in the mail.
Give something away.
Yeah. And a couple questions are about the watercolor paints. You have that information all on your website, right? In terms of what your process
it's Prima Watercolors.
Okay, great. All right, my dear. Thank you so much. We love you. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the Slow Flower Summit. And I'll probably see you in a socially distanced parking lot sometime soon. On our Zoom cocktail call tonight.
Zoom. Yeah, I was afraid I was going to log into the wrong Zoom call. So thank you, Deb. Thank you for all the work you do and for your constant loving support of me.
We're all grateful that we got to spend time with you today. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I think we're going to do 10 minutes of breakouts, and then if you have to leave, we will, you'll still be included in the drawing for the giveaway. We've got a couple other things. I'll just say this now before we go into the breakouts. In addition to Lorene's 2 prints, we have a couple other giveaways, and Nisha, it's worked out really well for Nisha to do the drawing randomly of all the names that are in the group chat. So we have another Slow Flowers t-shirt. Where is that showing up? Okay, I don't see myself on the screen, so I don't know.
We see it.
Okay, and then digging into the archives of goodies in my garage, I have a really great pair of flex style pruners from Corona Tools. Ooh. And I have a set for next week too, but my friend Chris Sabarese from Corona has always gifted me a lot of great hardware. Unfortunately, they are not made in the US, but it's hard to find good USA made tools. So it's a company that I know and love, and we thank them for that. Okay, let's do this. Let's go out into the Zoom rooms. Karen's gonna create small groups, and I just ask, maybe take some of the prompts that Julie talked about and share with each other. What do you need right now? And what's your next step that you're thinking about, that you're being pulled to and drawn to? And then we'll come back in about 10 minutes. We'll just say, this was awesome. Thank you all for sticking with us. What a great dynamic group. And we are having great success with the playback video, which we're trying to share in email. And I did post last week's playback. I posted it on the Slow Flowers community page on Facebook. So I'm going to try to make sure I let everybody see, what we're doing. If they can't join, they can still watch the video. So a couple things. One is that next week, I don't have a speaker lined up yet. I have a couple people in mind I haven't asked, but I think I want to make it have our topic focus on preparing for Mother's Day. I'm hearing so much about every state is different, and some states are loosening their shelter in place policies. I know, yes, on the 22nd, I guess 2 days ago, Washington State Department of Agriculture announced that florists can safely, if they can do curbside and coronavirus protected deliveries, they're allowed to. I'm not saying that right, but you know what I mean. And other markets are doing it too. So I think we were going to focus a little bit about how creative farmer-florists and florists, how many creative resources for people to take advantage of Mother's Day. Hey, last week we gave away the Posy book by Teresa Sabankaya and Holly Rhodes Smithy of I might be saying her name wrong, I apologize, of Meadow Song Flower Farm is the winner of that. The Ashley Balance of Swallowtail Flowers received the Slow Flowers Society t-shirt. Rachel Johnson, who's here today, Simply Grounded, received the book Slow Flowers and Gilding the Lily. She was excited about that. And Rain Grace Hoke, who I also think is on the call, from Florist Muse, won the set of Holly Chapel pillows and eggs. So we've been giving away some great stuff. This week we have 4 goodies. We've got 2 of Lorene's prints, Seeing Color in the Garden, you all saw those, and 1 Slow Flower Society t-shirt and the set of Corona clippers. So we'll do the drawing later today and let everybody know who the winners are. I thank you all so much for being part of this. It's such an encouragement, and today was really special just to hear some tips for self-care and wellness and mindfulness. And I just hope that it was encouraging to you. And we'll have a video of this meeting to share. So we're not too far over the time of the goal of an hour, but I felt like Julie and Lorene were both so amazing. I didn't want to cut them off. Okay, that's it. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next Friday.